dash, jump, blast, and die a lot. Hello, I'm Locke and this is my app, the channel that is open for sponsorship from anyone. What inspired you to make this content so late on a Friday morning?
Money!
From the guy who sells me baguettes every Thursday to the nice people over at Nvidia. Don't worry, I'm totally biased and will not tell people that 3080 sometimes goes boom boom. Now to the video. Today I'm reviewing Hell is Other Demons. This is a pretty interesting looking indie game by Cuddle Monster Games, a fairly new studio. I stumbled upon this title on a random tweet by another reviewer that I don't know, and since I am heavily attracted by interesting visuals in general, like the ones depicted here, I was all up to give it a shot, and boy did I like it. The game features bold color schemes that change depending on the area of hell you are fighting in, fast arcade action, and an amazing synthwave soundtrack. There are issues, and I will also talk about them, but overall it's a pretty decent experience. First things first, the gameplay is very fluid. Shooting demons is pretty fun, and the game's screen swiftly fills with bullets and floating monsters all around. The game works in stages, and every stage is a survival against various waves of monsters. Those stages are all different, but they repeat their own patterns, so you can memorize spawn points and get the upper hand on the demons. Much like a Contra stage, something that my, well, now older brain can't really cope with, but I got used to it pretty fast. Besides those normal ones, the game also features endless stages, which are more randomized and last till you die, and they are a great way to collect the gems that you will need to buy upgrades on the 5 available stores in the map. And the last mission type are boss stages. There are only 5 bosses in the game. The first 4 give you the crystals you need to reach the end boss area, and there you of course fight the final one. The only issue I had with gameplay in general was that with controllers you don't have independent twin stick shooting options. You shoot the direction you're moving, but it's nothing they can't update later. The controls with keyboard and mouse are also a little awkward sometimes, but mostly on the menus. You can't press the mouse on options in the menu, only the control key, which ends up being a little unorthodox, because you move with WASD and select stuff with control. It's a little weird. So I ended up playing with mouse and keyboard anyways, because it feels much better with mouse pointing, the same that it would if you had the twin stick option. But I feel it has much potential as a twin stick shooter, and I hope they update with that option. But during the game, you don't notice those bad menu controls, of course. On keyboard and mouse, it feels very fluid and natural. Your character moves quickly and has access to many different upgrades and weapons. You start the game as a really fragile little demon, but you end up as a powerhouse, stirring hellfire over all your enemies. Upgrades range from different weapons and extra lives to shooting laser from your feet when you're jumping. And they are all pretty fun to equip and try out the best ones for you. The game doesn't force you to upgrade or use any different settings, so it will depend entirely on you, and I find this freedom really interesting. Of course, min-maxing freaks will end up with the ideal build to do the game in 8 minutes, but I was just in for the ride, and I enjoyed the many options that were given to me. The game offers a nice campaign mode with 2 to 3 hours of stages, with a very decent challenge level, an arcade mode that works like all the arcade modes you've ever played in your whole life, and the lava climb mode, which is an endless racing mode that I really enjoy. They're all very speed running, is that a word? And they're also world record friendly. Even the campaign mode. With good skills you could run an optimal path, avoiding lots of stages and ending it much faster than the 3 hours I took. Besides not having aiming in the right stick and the weird menu controls with keyboard and mouse, the game has a big issue for me that I'm not sure if it's by design or if they couldn't make it faster, but the time you wait after dying is way longer than I expected. Instead of restarting fast like Katana Zero, Super Meat Boy or Hotline Miami, there is a delay after dying before the options come up on the screen. But it's not like those extra 2 seconds kill the mood or the flow a lot. But there was some times there though that this made me very mad. And don't get me wrong, I'm no noob, but this game is hard as hell. Every stage has a sick twist, like moving lasers, acid spills, stationary turrets, and even one had no ground. I hate that one. And you will die very often. That is how I even realized that this delay on respawn was a thing, cause I've seen it way too many times. But even though it's a difficult game, it's not an impossible one. It's a difficulty level that you can overcome and feel the joy of seeing new stages, not an oppressive one that makes you turn the game off. It's the right kind of difficulty, the one you want in games like this, and that makes you come back for it. Story-wise, there's not much to say. It's really hectic in general. The final boss, the Stale, a name that might remind you of yesterday's bread, but it's actually a pretty terrifying opponent. Well, this guy apparently pacified hell, making it a nice place, where you can go grocery shopping at 2 PM without getting shot in the back. But the main character wants to live in 1980s Detroit, so he starts killing everything and stirring chaos all over hell. And that's it. He must be a real RoboCop fan or something, and just wants some urban violence back in his neighborhood. Emphasis on hood. Well, there is a bit at the start of the game where a hooded figure is reviving your character, but it's not very clear what they are doing. It's like a Dark Souls kind of thing, you know? But what really struck me were the visuals and sounds. The SFX is really common ground as far as indie shooters go, but the music is amazing. It gets you pumped for the action, and boy, there is action. Much like Detroit in 1987, hell feels like hell, with amazing music that makes you feel every dodge the right way. The game color schemes change depending on which of the 5 areas you are on the map, and that affects levels, enemies, and even their shots. This is very disorienting for the player and creates extra challenge, especially after spending too much time in a color and running to another one. It takes some time for your eyes to adjust to the bullet hell raining on your head, but that is awesome. It always feels overwhelming and hellish, and it adds a lot to the challenge when you move to a new area. The green areas being slimy and full of acid, the orange ones being full of machines and rust, the purple reddish ones being like a graveyard, and the red ones feel like blood and hell filled with lasers. I love it. The game has great charm. Everything, all the colors, all the machines, it all adds to its charm. I rate Hell is Other Demons an 8 out of 10. With its simple and interesting art style, its insane action-packed gameplay, accessibility to speedrunning, replayability of trying its many different weapons and strategies, and the overall atmosphere of Hell make this a game worth trying. And for the first foray into a published Steam games from this dev, I really commend it and hope to see many other titles by then. I took some points out for the accessibility options in general, like not having the right stick being a pointer when using a controller, not being able to choose the options with the mouse click, but those are very minor things. And I do think this is a commendable achievement by the developer in general. Hell is Other Demons is available for PC on Steam and for the Nintendo Switch right now. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to Maya for your weekly dose of game reviews and all other weirdness. And I'll see you next time.